Hello, 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 everyone. So excited to be hosting this very fun little summer webinar on all things live shopping. I'm Avery Akinini from VaynerMedia, and I'm going to be joined by two incredible leaders from our organization, Lisa Harrop-Canfield, who's been with us for many years, leading all things Kate, which we'll get into in a second, and Zubin Mawali, who we actually started working together on the commerce side of things, and Zubin's role has really grown as we've taken on live shopping as a huge priority for Vayner. So Lisa, Zubin, how are you guys doing?
Great. Thanks so much for having us.
Okay, I feel like you two are the dynamic duo because Lisa is bringing a lot of the influencer and creator and affiliate and talent work, and Zubin, you bring that commerce expertise, and together we have this unlock of live shopping, which I think might be Gary's #1 priority for this fall. What do y'all think?
Absolutely. He can't stop talking about it. We can't stop talking about it. And there's a reason, and we'll cover some of it today.
Okay. And they can't stop talking about it. So you two might be the two most important people at VaynerMedia right now. So I'm really thrilled to have you share a little bit of the perspective and what we're doing with clients and how brands are breaking through on live shopping. But before we get into that, can you all introduce yourselves to the VaynerX, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, wherever in the world you are seeing this community? Lisa?
Sure. Hi, Lisa Harrop-Canfield, as Avery had said, leading up our Kate team. So if you hear that acronym from us, a lot more moving forward. Now you'll know what it means. It stands for creators, affiliates, influencers, and talent. So really spending a lot of time helping our clients understand the nuances, right? The greater creator economy has so much value in our marketing strategies today. We're really helping to to tap into that and unlock the potential. So super excited to bring some of that knowledge to this conversation, specifically to social shopping, with, like you had said, my partner in crime, Zubin.
Lovely to be with you all. As Avery and Lisa mentioned, we're super excited about our conversation today about social shopping. My background is in digital commerce, as Avery was mentioning earlier. And our kind of work, our span crosses everything from your D2C to Amazon, e-retail, to over the past 18 months, a lot of emphasis on social shopping. So Avery's team, or rather Lisa's team, and I work very closely on understanding the role of affiliates. How do we actually take social commerce, leverage it for our clients, and make sure that they're getting more than just revenue, getting a lot of insight. So today we'll talk to you about a little bit of theory, a little bit about what's going on in the market, and then how we can get tactical together and what next steps you have. And looking forward to seeing what you all do.
It is going to be a great conversation. I also think that this is the perfect time for it. I mean, we've been doing influencers at VaynerMedia, at least for the 8 years that I've been here. That's really like core of who we are, what we do, whether that's creative or using them from a media amplification perspective. Like, this is old hat, but it really isn't old hat because it's evolved so much. And now between creators, affiliates, influencers, and talent, that really being a discipline within Vayner, I think has crystallized this really well for clients and helped enable faster insights, faster amplification, also just better results. Supercharging that with live shopping is an insane opportunity that we cannot stop beating the drum on. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to these two, and everyone pay attention, ask questions. If you're watching this after the fact and you want to learn more, feel free to hit us up.
Yes, please ask questions. We're here to answer.
Amazing. All right, let's get started. So let's talk about what Avery was mentioning right now about affiliates. Affiliates have been around a long time. Affiliates have been around since D2C started, really, and even before that. But why do they matter now? Why do they matter so much in terms of social commerce? Before we get into it, we got to talk about what social commerce is and how it works and why there's a relationship flip. So historically speaking, we've had funnels, and we've gotten folks to visit our experiences, whether it's D2C, e-retail, et cetera. Then they leave, then we retarget them, they come back. There's a process to get somebody to purchase your product. Well, there's a massive flip that's occurred on social shopping, which the funnel has been compressed entirely, and folks are buying, seeing the product, interested, buying right there. So the way we think about them, the way we operate, the trusted voices we need are really important. And ultimately, whoever supplies the most relevant, friction-free offer and opportunity and merchandising is the one that's going to win. With that being said, let's get into some numbers. Why does this actually matter, and why are we talking about it today? We're talking about it because social commerce already represents 17% of US online retail. So to put that into perspective, this isn't something that's just nascent, something that's started. It actually has a significant portion currently of online US retail, and one that's growing. With that being said, if you look at the growth that's occurred over the last 18 months or so, it's primarily been led by TikTok Shop, and then other platforms are hopping on board. Now, TikTok Shop has grown 650% over the first 16 months, but that's just a percentage. What does that actually mean? Based on the insight that we have, as well as published reports, TikTok is actually over $1 billion in monthly US revenue in the US. So just to put that in perspective, $1 billion in monthly revenue in the US. And again, as I was mentioning earlier, this isn't a matter of, hey, I'm going to get somebody online, run some ads, get them to a site. Then eventually they look at something, they sign up for a newsletter, they may come back, they may not come back. Let me retarget them, etc. That takes weeks to sell a product. This is happening in minutes and in seconds. So we have to think about, how do we want to operate in this space? Who are the people that we need? How do we get those trusted voices? And how do we ensure that we're actually activating this and doing it the right way and doing it in a sustainable manner? So that's a mouthful. It's a lot to do. But with that, I'm going to pass it to Lisa to talk to you about why affiliates hold the keys.
But it definitely sets the stage, and looks like we have a little formatting issue. We'll fix that before we send out. But why do affiliates hold the keys, right? And I think you alluded a little bit to it, Zubin, is that they're trusted, right? They're the ones that sit closest to your consumer. They're the ones that are building conversation day in and day out, and that trust really carries a lot of weight. And sometimes even more so than targeting, right? Those endorsements really kind of transcend a lot of different categories and topics, and really help kind of handle some ad fatigue that you might see in some of your traditional methods. And there is a bit of a learning dividend. So affiliates really help brands understand their audiences in a way, and at a scale that might be cost prohibitive in a lot of different ways. So how can we understand the language that is working, the vernacular of, everyday language that, that peer-to-peer relationship really provides value into. And then there's also instant shelf space. So every creator is basically their own storefront, right? They're curating the very important items and products that matter to them, that carry that trust forward, where audiences would really like to discover, right? Hey, I really liked this one recommendation. How does that cross over to, say, other products and other categories within their own shelf space? And you no longer need to kind of compete in the same way, and it really deserves a new strategy. And the proof of efficacy. So micro influencers post engagement rates sometimes up to 8%, in compared to some of those 2% that you might see on a more macro scale type influencer relationship. And those numbers are really hard to compete with, right? Like, those are hard to kind of look away from and not understand the value that they can provide in the greater marketing mix that you put together. And so a lot of, kind of great information, right? Understanding the opportunity, understanding kind of the players in the mix and the value that might be there. But how do you actually action this, right? How do you put together this kind of engineering flywheel, as we'll take you through? And Zubin, please feel free to jump in. I know you have a lot of examples as well as we go through. But to really take action and put this into a test and learn opportunity that you guys might be able to use with your own brands and your own teams to understand how to unlock this potential for your own business. So we start with curate. We're going to take you through 4 steps of this flywheel. So selecting partners using what we call resonance index. So what is that cultural fit kind of multiplied by the actual historical sales efficiency? Are these folks actually, kind of closing the deal, right? Do they have the experience and the skill set to execute? And are they the right cultural fit for the product, for the cohort you need to lean into, and the job that needs to be done?
And with the point of the historical sales efficiency, just want to mention that the platforms themselves have historical sales, many of them do, regarding affiliates. And then there are third-party tools you can use, like Fastmoss and Calodata, that'll actually give you a sense of how much revenue these creators are generating. So that's where you get that information. And to Lisa's point, it's really a matter of understanding who is a good fit, and then who is actually generating revenue in the space that I want to work with. And then think about the historical sales, not just in terms of gross sales, but the ones that are emerging, and the ones that are not necessarily the ones that have the largest amount of sales. It's going to be hard to get them, but the ones that, say, over the course of the last 8 weeks, 16 weeks, are starting to get revenue, start to tap into them early.
And so our next step is all around coaching. So issuing really tight briefs that define and provide, clear data around the offer, the brand tone, all the non-negotiables with regards to the selling that might need to take place. And kind of a bit of a mind shift, something we talk a little bit about is, you think, oh, well, it's a creative brief, right? That should be the document that, we're providing. But actually thinking of it more like a sales brief, right? How are you going to actually give them the brief on how to sell? What's the facts? What's the figures? What's the intel? What's the insight you might have into the consumer that can add value to the insight they might have on the consumers that are part of their audience? How do you take all the value and knowledge they have as sellers, as well as all the knowledge about the brand and the product and the things that are non-negotiable, and give them that as a jumping off point? That allows them to create their own, using their own style, sell what works best for their audience, while also being respectful of obviously those non-negotiables. So it's a little bit of a switch of how you draft these documents, which are so critical and so important to the successful execution. And then in terms of capture, so tracking both the performance metrics as well as qualitative learnings. So something that can't be stressed enough in terms of don't overlook some of that qualitative learning. Just because one sales pitch, and one execution with an affiliate didn't perhaps garner those performance metrics you might have been looking for, doesn't mean that there's not some really great insights that can be learned to make the next iteration stronger. Was it perhaps just a mismatch between that particular audience and their or affiliate and their audience? Was there confusion around a perhaps product benefit of some kind? And that's something you can then add a little bit more clarity for the next sales briefing that you might provide to an affiliate. All of those are learnings that, especially when done in a pretty quick cycle, as you'll see here in this flywheel, it moves pretty quickly, that you don't want to overlook, because that really can be the benefit that you'll see, quickly as you grow this program. And lastly, around cycle. So I kind of just alluded to this a little bit, but being able to really scale the winners while also being able to pinpoint where some of the, issues or maybe lack of performance might have been. But being able to do that in a 7-day cycle is really where you're going to see the value of a social shopping kind of initiative and pilot program, if you will. As we've discussed in this flywheel, you'll be able to really optimize without kind of getting too far down the road and say investing too many dollars or having briefed too many affiliates without being able to see that performance metrics improve at the end. So we do have a recap here of how we pull this all together. It's a good slide to screenshot for anybody watching. Do you want to jump in?
Thanks, Lisa. Absolutely. Now, the flywheel looks great on paper, but it's only going to succeed if you have the right organizational structure behind it. So let's talk about that a little bit and how you can actually make this happen. So number one thing that you need to focus on, as Lisa was mentioning, this flywheel moves fast. You're going to go very quickly between the processes of curating affiliates, identifying the ones you want to reach out to, reaching out to them, sending them briefs, having them post, capturing the data, and then ultimately cycling through that and continually improving that. So as it goes fast, you need to have a cross-functional team that can support this. When you're thinking about it, if we go to the next slide, this cross-functional team really needs to be focused around building this social commerce guild, or whatever you want to call it internally. So if we think about, again, D2C, e-retail, other types of channels, and we think about larger organizations, typically speaking, they're very siloed. You've got teams that do tech, and then you've got folks that are doing design, and then you've got the creative team and the media team, et cetera, merchandising. All of this really needs to be combined into one group that continually talks to each other and has access to one another on a regular basis. That's why we're recommending Slack. That's why we're recommending doing this in one environment, whatever that is. It's really important because you're going from the prospect of reaching out to these individuals, getting feedback from affiliates. Do they like the products you have? Do they not? Because you have to remember one key thing here. You're not just selling to the consumer. You are selling your proposition, your merchandising, your products to the affiliates first, And if they're interested, they're going to start talking about them. And so it's really important to have that continuous cycle and that team that can react to it, and the team that can react to the SLAs that are required by the platforms like TikTok Shop to be able to respond to customer service inquiries very quickly. Make sure consumers are getting information as soon as they want it. And then as you find winners, cycling more of those in from a merchandising standpoint. And then when things don't work out, making sure that you're essentially moving those out. So it's really critical that you do that. And with that, now you've got this team, you're activating it, you're going through the cycle. You have to think about KPIs differently. We can't think about just the old KPIs that we had around conversion rate and ROAS and CAC. While those are important, you've got to understand the micro KPIs that will allow you to properly model this out and determine how you can make it profitable. And the key things, some key things we want to talk about, KPIs, affiliate conversion rate. What does that mean? In this world, you're reaching out to affiliates, and eventually you're going to be reaching out to affiliates at scale. And you can reach out to hundreds a week, eventually thousands a week to get them onboarded into your program. What is that conversion rate you have on messaging you send? We were talking about briefs, but even those messages you send to try to recruit affiliates needs to be A/B split tested to understand, how do I improve that response rate or that conversion rate from affiliates? Then we got revenue per video. As affiliates start to post content, for example, on TikTok Shop, these are videos. These videos will have a revenue associated with them. How much revenue did it generate? And your goal is to get that up, is to get more revenue per video. And that happens because you're properly briefing them. You're giving them the right, you're reaching out to the right ones, and you're giving them what Lisa mentioned, which is very important, enough creative levity for them to be able to do what they do that resonates with their audience. Don't try to take too much control over this, but make sure that you're assessing that. Then you got creator LTV. So what is the lifetime value of that creator for me? How am I increasing that? How many videos are they posting? And then there's the idea adoption lag of, when I give them new concepts, how long does it take for them to implement? So again, a lot of things to consider in this space. They're not going to be significantly different than what you've measured before, but the intention of those things is really important to really understand this flywheel, understand, is it working, and how effectively, and how do you go from there? And then we've got another a kind of a provocative thought here that would love to get your feedback on as you embark on this journey. But we recommend that you move a significant portion of your upper funnel media dollars within platform to affiliate test and learn pods. Why? Because as we were mentioning earlier, this environment is not just a lower funnel activity. It appears like one, and it's often assessed as one, as in, how much revenue did I generate? Was it profitable? We talk about those things as well. But don't forget that many times somebody's buying a product, they're hearing about your brand for the first time in that same video. You're getting awareness, and then you're getting interest, and then you're getting conversion. So by moving the upper funnel dollars into this environment, you're able to capture that upper funnel interest and the awareness rather, and convert it, and then learn from it as well. So it's really important to think about that. So looking ahead, we've talked about theory, where we've been, where we are now, why affiliates are a really critical portion of this thing, how to think and how to operate from an operational standpoint. The other thing I want to talk about is rewarding. So affiliates have historically been rewarded on a commission basis only, or you pay them up front. Same thing that's happened historically. You've had platform affiliates for many years on Rakuten and the like, where you give them a percentage of revenue. But the next wave of social commerce is really going to be brands rewarding affiliates, key relationships they have, with deeper alignment, deeper data share than they have before. So we've got a few ways we want to talk to you about. Number one is creator equity. So our recommendation, and this depends on the size of your organization. If you're a smaller organization, this makes sense. Larger organization absolutely doesn't. But what we recommend is that you evolve and you take your top affiliates and you evolve them from just a revenue split to SKU level profit, or some form of restricted stock units, shares, etc. This works really well with smaller startups where you want to get the larger affiliates, but you can't afford to, because even if you give them 10%, 20%, 30% commission, you're just not generating enough revenue for it to be of interest to them. But if you gave them half a point, if you gave them a point, etc., it would work. And you can base this on performance. So it's not like you're paying somebody up front. So that's one way. A second way to do this is to really think about your cross-platform purchase graph, if we go to the next slide, on what impact are these affiliates having, not just on TikTok Shop, but on Amazon, on D2C checkout, etc. We've been talking a lot about the impact of social commerce. But one of the main things that you have to think about social commerce is it's not just about the revenue it's generating you on the social commerce channels, but the impact it can have for you on other channels. And so to be able to reward these affiliates by understanding the impact they have, taking their creative, running it elsewhere, asking them to edit it or editing yourself so it's more applicable to other platforms, is another great way to understand the impact it's having and reward them for that impact. And then the third thing we want you to consider is briefing. Lisa mentioned this earlier, and it's a really, really important part of all of this. You've reached out to affiliates, you're identifying them, they're interested, they get a sample of your product, now you have to brief them. In order to brief them appropriately, we got to think about a few things. What are their motivations? These people, 90% of them, 95% of them, aren't necessarily interested in building a relationship with your brand. And frankly, you might not be interested in building a relationship with them right off the bat. However, what are they interested in? Revenue. They want to generate as much revenue as they can based on their video posts because predominantly they're getting a commission off of those sales. So when we think about it, we got to think about how do we think about briefs? How do we make our briefs super concise so when they receive it, it gives them the top 3 things about this product, what they should talk about, what things matter, and position it as a sales brief. So instead of like here's how you uphold my brand standards and my brand equity, and these are the things you need to do, think about it more from the perspective of, hey, I'm going to give you some tips on how to sell more product. When you position it that way, they take it, they use it because they know they're going to sell more product. And what do? You intertwine in there all of your brand standards, everything that's a necessity for you or a necessary element for your brief. And the point of this headline that we finally get to is brief assist LLMs, if you go back one, which is, again, we're firm believers in A/B split testing these things and not just putting one brief out to everybody. So leverage the LLMs that are out there. Write your brief, have it build 5 different versions for your 5 different cohorts. So you can basically brief new moms differently than you brief audiophiles, differently than you brief fitness enthusiasts, whatever cohorts are applicable to your brand. And then continually understand, based on the briefs that you send in A/B split test, these 3 briefs got the best creative and got the most revenue. So now I'm going to start iterating off of those. So again, really important things to consider. So with that, really want to talk about call to action. What do we recommend you do? We've talked about all this. We've given you some sense. What is the market? Why should you be excited? How do you measure it? What do you do? How do you forward proof this? What do we want you to do? What do we recommend you do? Number one thing we recommend you do is identify 15 high resonance affiliates for you to go after based on what we talked about. Good fits for your brand, got enough revenue where they're actually generating some sales, where it makes sense for you to contact them. Identify 15 of them. Shouldn't be that difficult. You can go directly in platform and you can use the tools that we talked about. Next thing is merchandising. Deploy unique bundles or offers. You don't have to, if you've got 30 products in your D2C or Amazon, or if you have thousands, don't even go that high. Start with 5 to 7 products to begin with, 10, 12 maximum, and focus on one product or bundle that you're going to position to these 15. And frankly, the first 100, 200 affiliates you go after. Focus on one product that you're positioning after them, brief them on that, and see what happens. Then internally, set up your team and hold weekly insight stand-ups. Make sure you're getting the right insight on what's selling product, what briefs are working, what's not working. And then finally, roll out these validated winners into scaling live shopping. We've talked about this. Now we're going to give you a little hint at live shopping. We'll have more on live shopping for you. But this is the right flywheel to get you into live shopping, to understand what is the creative, the messaging, everything that actually sells product to ultimately get you into a world where you can manage live shopping on your own. With that being said, we really want, if there's nothing you take away from this entire conversation, we've been speaking now for 24 minutes, we've said quite a bit, but if there's nothing else that resonated with you, we really hope this does, which is in social shopping, every swipe can be a signal and a sale. Brands that treat affiliates as intelligence partners, not just traffic generators, will outperform relevance, speed, and revenue. Again, we cannot emphasize how important it is to think about this channel, even though it's social shopping, social commerce, not as just a revenue generation. You're going to get significant creative out there, amounts of creative. You're going to understand what is selling product, what is not, why do people care about your product. take that, apply it to other channels. And ultimately, our hope is that you leave here not just inspired, but equipped with the right tactical first steps to disrupt your category before someone else does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think we had a comment where people wanted to go back to our kind of.
Let's get that flywheel slide. People were loving the flywheel slide. I actually just got a message from a good marketing friend who also wants to connect on this. So by the way, we have the deck. If you are a marketing leader and you want to get a copy of it, email us or send us a DM. We will get it to you. Happy to, customize things for clients specifically as well. Lisa Zubin, I feel like I knew this before, but now I really know this. I appreciate y'all taking the time to share your insights and share your thoughts.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much.
It is just only a taste. This is the first group who's going to hear this publicly, but this is just a taste of what will be coming on the October 8th live shopping summit happening at Fly Fish Club. This is going to be probably the hottest thing to do if you are a marketer on October 8th. We are going to have a bunch of incredible live streamers, Gary himself, a bunch of brand leaders. It's going to be awesome. So this is a huge passion point of ours. We're going to be sharing some case studies of clients who we've worked with to really break through driving double-digit $1 million sale months using live shopping. But Prashant has a question now. I'm going to hand this over to Lisa and Zubin, the experts. But with regards to KPIs, what is the ideal approach to setting benchmarks and how often should they be updated? This is a good question.
Great question. So in this space, right, if we're talking about specifically TikTok Shop, or we're talking about Meta Shops, or we're talking about the social commerce side of things, where we have many inputs and many outputs, we highly recommend that you go into it with a P&L. And Prashant, reach out to us. We'll share ours with you of how we structure it. That P&L is going to consist of affiliate outreach. How many affiliates are you reaching out to on a weekly basis? What is your expected conversion rate or response rate? How many affiliates do you onboard? What is the lag between onboarding them, giving them giving them product and having them produce creative? What is expected revenue for that creative? What is the expected ongoing retention revenue that you get from these consumers? All the way to how much am I putting in, for example, TikTok Shop into GMV Max to promote the top creative? How much am I spending on affiliate samples? All of that needs to be captured. But to your point about benchmarking, so there are certain benchmarks that are published. For example, you want to get to $200 of revenue per affiliate creative. You want to have 5% plus 5 to 10% response rate on affiliate outreach. There are a lot of those that are published. What we recommend you do is think about it conservatively. Start at the lower end of that, on the kind of the downside of the base case of that, and then scale it up. But this P&L we're talking about, this growth model, set it up and make sure that on a monthly basis, and frankly, a weekly basis when you start, you're actually putting actuals in there, and then you're updating on a progressive basis. So weekly is what we recommend for the next part of your question, of how often it gets updated.
Okay, that's a perfect way to end it. Lisa Zubin, thank you so much. This has been really fun. Anyone who's seeing this after the fact, you now connect with Lisa and Zubin on LinkedIn. They are absolute fountains of knowledge, and watch out for what VaynerMedia is doing on this space. A lot more coming soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having us.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.